Let me send a link to this. You might want to join. Oh, that must be my wife. You're gonna get it? Or you're just getting her? Oh, yeah. You just opened it. Trying to find this group chat in order to send this link to.
Hi.
Welcome. And instead, it sends to AI, which is so annoying, and starts telling me about some TV show as if I care. It probably also made it up because it didn't even make sense what it said. Live now. This phone is proving to be very annoying for such an expensive and smart phone.
Can you do this? Or for the photo?
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Yeah.
No,
Alright.
that's yours, that umbrella?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
Red wallet.
Rambam.
Rambam.
Okay, we start something new. It's a shame that we started late, but
Life.
let's go. Hilchos Kneva.
Chapter 1.
Oh, on Twitch it's titled Chassidus, but
It is, because it's
That's
thing of the rebel, so you know.
right. Hilchos Kneva. There are 7 mitzvahs. 2 of them are mitzvahs say, 5 of them are leis say, and this is what they are. Not to steal property, the laws governing a thief, to ensure the accuracy of scales and weights, not to deceive a person by using inaccurate measures and weights, not to possess 2 sets of weights or measures, even though one does not use them for business, not to move a colleague's property marker, and not to kidnap. These mitzvahs are explained in the chapters that follow. Not to kidnap, hashtag Hamas, right? Whenever a person steals property that is worth a pruta or more, he transgresses a loisa say, as it says, lois signif. And he doesn't get malchus for this because you never have to pay a penalty. You don't have because you don't get malchus when you are obligated to pay a penalty. You never have to pay penalty and get malchus is what I was going to say. For the Torah requires a thief to compensate a party from whom he stole, whether he be a Jew or a guy, or a Gentile, an adult or a minor. The Torah prohibits stealing even the slightest amount. It's forbidden. Oh, are we doing 1-1?
Whatever you want.
We'll do 2-2. Torah prohibits stealing even the slightest amount. It is forbidden to steal as a joke, to steal with the intent to return, or to steal with the intent to pay for something. All of those things are forbidden, lest one habituate oneself to such conduct.
Who is a thief? Gimel. Who is a thief? A person who takes assets belonging to a colleague in stealth, meaning sneakingly, without an owner's knowing. He pickpocketed who is not detected by the owner of the light. If, however, a person takes a colleague's assets in open view and with public knowledge by force, he is not considered a thief but a robber. For this reason, an armed bandit who steals is not considered a robber but a thief. This applies even when the owner takes notice when he steals.
When two acceptable witnesses. Wait, I don't understand. So why is a robber who's armed considered a thief?
Because there's Gazela, and
No, I understand. There's Geneva and Gazela. Why is a guy who steals it openly but armed considered a thief? Because he's afraid, basically, and that's why he's armed?
It's an open question.
It's a sure, very simple answer. Okay. Well, I remember learning it once, and I just don't remember now what the answer is. When two acceptable witnesses testify that a person stole, he is required to pay twice the amount of the stolen property to its owner. Do you need a tissue? If he stole a dinar, he must pay 2. If he stole a donkey, a garment, or a camel, he must pay twice its worth. He thus loses the amount that he desired his colleague would lose. When a thief admits, you only did one. When a thief admits that he stole, he must repay the principal, but he is not liable for the payment of the double amount, as indicated what it says in Shmais, Ashar Yarshiyun Alikim Yishalim Shnayim. One who is deemed guilty by the court needs to pay double. This excludes a person who admits his own guilt. He need not pay double. The principle applies with regard to all the fines required by the Torah. A person who admits his own guilt is not chayav for the fine.
Vav, the obligation to make double restitution applies with regard to all articles with the exception of a sheep or an ox. A person who steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay 4 times the amount of the sheep and 5 times the amount of the ox. Zayin, the obligation to pay double, or 4 or 5 times the amount of the value of the stolen article, applies equally to a man and to a woman. If a woman is married and thus has no financial resources with which to pay, the double payment remains a debt that she is obligated to pay when she is divorced or becomes a widow. At that time, the court exacts payment from her.
It's interesting that they don't collect from the husband of this woman.
Well, if it's her thing, like if she stole it, why should the husband suffer?
I guess. When a minor steals, he is not liable for the double payment. The stolen article must, however, be returned to its owner. If that article is lost, he is not obligated to pay the principal even after he attains majority. When a servant steals, he is not chayav for the double payment. Similarly, his owner is not liable, for a person is not liable for the damages caused by his servants, although they are like his property. The rationale is that the servants are mentally competent and their owner is incapable of guarding them. Were the owner to be held liable for the damages the servants caused, if he angered the servant could desire to seek revenge and go and ignite someone's grain heap worth 1,000 dinar, or precipitate other similar damage to cause his owner to be liable. If the servant is freed by his owner, he is obligated to pay the double payments.
It is appropriate for the court to administer corporal punishment to a child who steals, according to the child's strength, so that he will not be accustomed to such conduct. The same principles apply if he causes other types of damage. Similarly, servants who stole or caused damage should be administered severe corporal punishment so that they will not become accustomed to causing damage. When the stolen article increased in value while it was in the thief's possession, a sheep or a lamb, and it was shorn, the thief must restore the sheep, its shearings, and its offspring. If the owner already despaired of the sheep's return and it gave birth or was shorn, the thief must pay only the value of the time of theft that the thief invested in the stolen property, causing its value to increase. If he force-fed livestock, the thief is entitled to an increase in value, even when the owner does not despair of the article's return. When the thief restores the stolen article on the double payment, he should be repaid for the increase in value of the owner, so that the amount should be deducted from the double payment. Don't ask me curiosity.
No, thank you.
Can you fill me up in a moment?
Sure.
you good?
I made it myself.
Very nice. Impressive. Thank you. Good base.
Okay, when the stolen article remains unchanged in the possession of the thief, it should be returned to its owner, regardless of whether or not he despaired of its return. If, however, it increased in value after the owner despaired of its return, the thief is entitled to that increase, as we have explained above. If, however, the stolen article underwent a fundamental change while in the thief's possession, the thief acquires it and any increase in its value, even before the owner despairs of the article's return. All that is required of him is to return the value of the stolen article at the time of the theft. If he stole a skinny animal and he fattened it, or he stole a fat animal and he caused its weight to be reduced, he is liable to pay twice or 4 or 5 times the value of the animal at the time of the theft. If he stole a kid and it grew into a ram, or a calf and it grew into an ox, he is liable to pay twice the value of the animal at the time of the theft. If he slaughtered it or sold it after it matured, then it's considered to have undergone a change while in the thief's possession. Excuse me. And he acquires it. Thus, he is slaughtering or selling his own animal. He is not required to pay 4 or 5 times its worth.
When a person steals an animal, a keli, a delight that was worth 4 zuz at the time of the theft, but at the time the case is brought to court, it depreciated and it's worth only 2. The thief must pay the worth of the principal at the time of the theft and pay the double or quadruple or quintuple amount as evaluated at the time the case is brought to court. Following rules apply if the animal or a keli was worth 2 zuz at the time of the theft, but at the time the case is brought to court, it appreciated and is worth 4. If the person slaughtered or sold the animal, or destroyed or lost the keli, he must pay double or 4 or 5 times the worth of the stolen article at the time the case is brought to court. If the animal died or the utensil was lost as a matter of course, he must pay double the worth of the stolen article at the time of the theft. Is that what I did one, right?
That was one, but I didn't really follow. Okay.
When a person steals a keli and destroys it or causes it to decrease in value, or it is destroyed or it decreases in value as a matter of course, another decrease is not a value. Instead, we evaluate the original worth of this utensil. The thief is obligated to pay the owner twice this amount. The broken utensil becomes the property of the thief. The same laws apply in all similar instances. The owner desires to take the broken utensil and be compensated for the damage done to it and receive double payment. His wishes are respected.
So it's not like the damages of an ox, where you just deduct from what the carcass is worth. When a thief slaughters or sells a sheep or an ox before the owner despairs of its return, he is required to pay 4 or 5 times its amount, despite the fact that the sale is nullified and the purchaser does not acquire the article, but instead must return it intact to its original owner.
What was it?
What? Yeah, of course. Needless to say, the above applies if he slaughters or sells the animal after the owner despairs of its return, for his deed is effective and the purchaser is considered to have acquired the article. When a thief, Yadzayin, B'Gematria Taif, when a thief steals from another thief, he is not required to pay twice its amount. This applies even if the original owner despaired of the stolen article's return. If the second thief shechts or sells a stolen animal, he is not required to pay the first thief 4 or 5 times its worth. The rationale is that the law is that this animal must be returned to its owner. It was never acquired by the thief, nor must the second thief pay twice or 4 or 5 times the amount of the original owner, because he did not steal the property from the original owner's domain. There's so many holy people in town. I want to bring tonight, but I really don't feel so good.
You also having a Barbie tonight.
You know how he told me about it last night on my way to the oil.
When you come by,
Yeah.
I'm staying there.
Yeah. It would be nice. I'd like to bring.
A bunch of people come.
It's been a while. I was invited also to 2 different kumsitzes tonight. I don't think I want to go to anything.
Come. Take a nap. It starts at 9.
Look, I'm already doing Rambam just for Thursday. I gotta do Rambam for Friday already. It's already Erev Shabbos.
When a thief steals an animal and shechts it, and then another person steals the meat, the second meat thief must make double restitution to the first thief. For the first thief acquired the animal because of the change his deed brought about.
So he became the owner. It's as if the second thief stole it from the owner.
The first thief must, however, pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. The following rules apply when a thief stole an animal and sold it, and another person stole it from the purchaser. If the original owner despair of the animal's return, the first thief must pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth, and the second thief must pay double its worth. If the original owner did not despair of the animal's return, the second thief is required to restore only the principal. Okay, let's just see how long the second part is.
Why do you do that?
Because it's just for my sanity. 18 hours.
Okay. When a person steals from a Gentile or from consecrated property, he is required to pay only the principal. As implied by Exodus, he shall pay twice the amount to his colleague. And this word in the Torah, lirei ehu, implies to his colleague, in other words, his co-religionist. So it excludes the temple treasury, something that's Hashem's, strictly speaking, and a Gentile. Similarly, a person who steals animals that were consecrated to be offered as sacrifices, both sacrifices of the highest sanctity and sacrifices of lesser sanctity, is not liable to pay twice or 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. This applies whether or not the owner is liable to bring another animal as an offering instead of the stolen animal. The rationale is that it says that the Torah describes the article as having been stolen from the person's home, not from the home of the temple treasury, in other words, not from the temple. Similarly, a person who steals servants, promissory notes, or landed property is not liable to make double payment. For the Torah obligated double payment only for the theft of stuff that itself is worth money. The exclusion of landed property is derived from Exodus, which speaks about paying double for an ox, a donkey, a sheep, or a garment. These things are not landed property. They are stuff. They are movable property. Servants are equated with landed property, as it says, you shall give them as an inheritance to your sons, and promissory notes are not in and of themselves worth money.
When a person steals a firstling donkey belonging to a colleague before it was redeemed, he must make double restitution to the owner. Although the donkey is not yet his, it is fit to be his at a later date.
Valid. Meaning it's not totally hektish because it's going to be redeemed. Oy.
What did I read?
You just read Gimel. Now we're up to Dalet.
A person who steals tevel belonging to a colleague and eats it must reimburse him for his tevel. A person who steals forbidden fats belonging to a colleague and eats it must reimburse him for his fats.
Even though what he did with it was also right. When a person steals truma from a Israelite who owns it, so basically the Israelite's not allowed to partake of it, right? He's not required to pay double. For the Israelite possesses merely the prerogative to give it to the priest of his choice, and that prerogative is not considered to be equivalent to money. It's not worth money. When a person steals a sheep or a cow from his father and slaughters or sells the stolen animal, and then his father dies, so now in theory he would inherit it, he is liable to pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth to his father's estate, which then gets split, between the inheritors. If his father dies and then he slaughters or sells the stolen animal, he must make a double payment. He doesn't, however, pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. If a thief steals a sheep or a cow, slaughters or sells the stolen animal, and then consecrates it as a sacrifice, he must pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. If by contrast, the thief consecrates an animal and then slaughters or sells it, even if he consecrates it as a sacrifice of a lesser degree of sanctity, he must make a double payment, and he does not pay 4 or 5 times the amount. When does Ibav apply? When he consecrated the animal after the owner was already miyayish. He already despaired of the animal's return. If, however, he consecrates it before the owner despairs of the animal's return, the consecration is effective. If the thief slaughters or sells it, he must pay 4 or 5 times the amount.
Zion. If the owner consecrates the animal while it is in the thief's domain, the consecration is not effective. The rationale is that it's not in the owner's possession. If the thief slaughtered or sold it after the owner consecrated it, he must still pay 4 or 5 times its worth to the owner. Ches. When a thief slaughters a sheep or a cow, but the slaughter is not ritually accepted, or he kills the animal or rips out the signs of rituals of shchita, he is chayav to pay only double the amount the animal's worth. However, he shots an animal for medicinal purposes to feed it to the dogs. After it was slaughtered, it was discovered to be treif, or he slaughtered it in the temple courtyard. Although it was not consecrated, he must pay 4 or 5 times its worth, although it is forbidden to benefit from a non-consecrated animal that is slaughtered in the temple courtyard. Since the prohibition is rabbinic in origin, he is liable, he's chayav to pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth.
I'm so tired.
Why?
I don't know.
What have you been doing all day?
Learning. Working.
That's a good excuse. Yes.
I don't understand. I don't know if my brain's functioning right now. If starts to shake my God, Thank you. Are you sure you need tissue?
I have, don't worry. I have issues. Okay.
Okay. Similarly, if a person steals a half-breed that comes from a sheep and another animal, or he steals an animal that was preyed upon, one whose leg had been preyed upon, like with an E, just for those who are not following inside, or one whose leg had been cut off, one that was limped or was blind or that belonged to partners, and he slaughtered it or sold it, he is liable to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. When a person steals a cow or a sheep and gives it to another person as a present, or he charges another person with shechting it, and the other person slaughters it, or he charges another person with selling it, and the other person sells it, the thief must pay 4 or 5 times its worth. He is also liable for this penalty if he stole it and sold it on credit, exchanged it for another article, paid a debt that he owed, or sent it as an engagement gift to his fiancée in his father-in-law's home.
Yet Aleph, a thief who stole a sheep or a cow and sold it, but posited it.
From would you have wanted me to send you a cow as a gift? Would that be appropriate?
No.
There's enough land behind your father's house.
It'll be a good start to our farm that we always dreamed of.
Oh yeah, you should start a farm.
A bot farm?
We always wanted to have a
Only
farm.
thing is, Baltimore already has good Chalvi milk. You don't need more cows.
High farms?
Yeah, it has really good milk.
High farms.
It's funny. No, we just have it like for fun.
That would be a real farm or something.
I saw a video of a farmer giving his cow's milk to drink. It's kind of redundant.
Wait, what?
I saw a video of a farmer giving his cow's milk to drink.
And what, cows don't typically drink milk?
I'm sure it's kind of weird if they do. I mean, drinking what you give.
Well, baby cows drink milk.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Because they give milk, but they also consume the same milk that they produce.
You could probably give a goat its own milk to drink.
We're actually the only type of species, humans, that consume milk that's not from our own type. Isn't that interesting?
There is some sort of movement that I once saw of like that they want to normalize drinking human milk, but that's like completely usser.
I know. Apparently, it's like really sweet and good.
It makes sense that it's healthy, but like that's still okay. Weiter in Shas.
A thief who stole a sheep or a cow and sold it, but posited that the sale
Means that he stipulated.
That the sale not take effect until 30 days have passed, and within those 30 days the thief was apprehended. It's required to pay only double its worth. The following rules apply: if the thief sold the stolen animal to another person, except for 1/100th of its bulk, or except for its foreleg or its hind leg. The thief retained ownership of a portion of the animal that is permitted to be used only through ritual slaughter. He is not chayav to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. If he sold it with the exception of its shearings or its horns, he is chayav to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. For these portions of the animal are permitted to be used even without ritual slaughter.
In other words, you're allowed to take them off of the animal. If a thief stole a sheep or a cow. Oh, you didn't want to read the second one?
I did. I think I did.
No, that was 11. That was Yud Aleph.
Give me 1 second. Okay. If a thief stole a sheep or a cow, cut off a limb, and then sold it, or he sold it with the exception of the right to work with it, or he sold it except for a 30-day period, the payment for 4 or 5 times its amount should not be expropriated from the thief. The person whose animal was stolen seizes this amount from the thief's assets. The property that he seized should not be expropriated from him.
Interesting. If the thief was a partner in the animal he stole and then he sold it, he is not chayav to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. The following rules apply when partners steal a sheep or cow. If one of them slaughtered or sold the stolen animal with his partner's consent, they must both join in the payment of 4 or 5 times its worth. If he acted without the consent of his partner, they are not liable for the payment of 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. They must, however, make double restitution. Test both.
When a thief stole a sheep or a cow, was brought to court and was told by the judges, "Go and give him what you stole," and instead of making restitution, he sold what or slaughtered the animal, he is not liable for the payment of 4 or 5 times the animal's worth.
That's funny.
The judges told him, "You are obligated to return it to him," and then he slaughtered or sold the stolen animal. He is liable for payment of 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. Rationale is that the judgment was not rendered in a definite manner, and he is preserving in his theft. When a person steals an object without removing it from the domain of its owner, he is not chayav for double payment.
Wait, that's interesting. So, a definitive manner means when they tell him what to do, not tell him what the din is. In other words, when they say chayav ata litin loi, that's not considered a definitive manner. But when they say go give him, that is. That's interesting. Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I find that fascinating. It's only considered definitive if they actually give a direction. To me, saying chayav sounds more definitive. Unless I'm learning it wrong, but.
When a person steals an object without removing it from the domain of its owner,
I'm okay.
he is not liable for a double payment. Similarly, if he slaughtered or sold a stolen sheep or a cow in the owner's domain, he is not chayav for added to the added penalty. However, he lifted the stolen object above the ground, he is chayav as a thief, even though he did not take it out of the owner's domain. What is implied? If he stole a lamb from the corral and was pulling it, and it died while in the owner's domain, he is not chayav for the added penalty. If he lifted it up or removed it from the owner's domain and then it died, he is chayav. While the owner's domain, the thief gave it to a priest, a client, in redemption of his firstborn son, to his creditor, to an unpaid watchman, to a borrower, to a renter, to a paid watchman, and the recipient was pulling the animal and it died, and the recipient is not chayav. The recipient lifted it up or removed it from the domain of the owner and it died. The recipient is liable because the thief did not remove it from the owner's domain and the recipient did. Na da 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 dee 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 doo. Da dum ba dee 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 dum da dee da dee dee dum ba dee 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 dum.
Okay.
Flew out of my mind. I had a very hectic day. I didn't even look at your message. I'm just seeing it right now. So, in the case that you didn't got anyone, and in the case you did, but it was a struggle, I apologize. You wasn't purposely. And just, I didn't want
Ready?
Yeah.
When a herd of sheep or cows are in a forest and a thief prods an animal to move and then hides it among the trees and woods, he is obligated to pay twice its worth. If he slaughters or sells it right there, he is obligated to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. Last halacha of this parak: when a thief steals a sheep or a cow in the owner's domain, and after the owner discovered the theft, the thief removed it and slaughtered it, or sold it outside their domain, or if a thief stole and removed the animal from the owner's domain and then slaughtered or sold it in the owner's domain, he's obligated to pay 4 or 5 times its worth. So he steals inside, and then after the owner discovers, the thief removed it and shuffed it or sold it. Or if the thief stole and removed it, and then shuffed it or sold it back inside. Both those situations, he needs to pay 4 or 5. Oh, there's a quiz today. We'll do the quiz.
You could do the quiz. There's 17 halachas. I want to meet Yosef when he finishes work at 7 o'clock. We have already explained in Hilchos Na'ar Basula that whenever a person violates a transgression that is punishable by both capital punishment and a financial penalty, he is not obligated to pay the financial penalty even though he performed the act unintentionally. When a person performs a transgression that is punishable by lashing and a financial penalty, he shall be lashed and is not required to pay the financial penalty. For a person should not receive both punishments, lashing and financial penalty, for the same deed. Therefore, if he performs the act unintentionally and he was not given a warning, he is required to pay and is not lashed. When does the above apply? When the financial obligation and the transgression obligating capital punishment, or the financial obligation and the transgression punishable by lashing, came about at the same time. However, he became liable for a financial penalty and then became liable for capital punishment or lashing, or became liable for capital punishment or lashing and then became liable for a financial penalty, he shall be lashed and pay, or pay and be executed. Bays. May I? What is implied? If he propelled an arrow on Shabbos from the beginning of a 4-ame space until the end of the 4-ame space, and it tore a garment belonging to a colleague as it proceeded, he set fire to a grain heap belonging to a colleague on Shabbos, or he stole a wallet on Shabbos and was dragging it along the ground until he removed it from the owner's domain, which was a private domain, to a public domain, and caused it to be destroyed there, he is not chayav for the damages. The prohibition against labor on Shabbos and the prohibition against theft or damages take effect at that same time. Therefore, he is not chayav. However, he stole a wallet on Shabbos and lifted it up on the private domain and then took it out to the public domain and threw it into a river. He is liable chayav to make a double payment, for he became chayav for the theft before he violated the prohibition, punishable by the execution by stoning. Same laws apply in all similar situations. Similarly, if a person cut down a tree belonging to a colleague on a Yom Tiv, and a warning was issued, or he set fire to a grain heap belonging to a colleague on Yom Kippur, and a warning was issued, or he stole a cow and slaughtered an animal on Yom Kippur, he is not under any financial obligation. However, a warning was not issued to him, he is chayav for payment, and with this regard to the slaughter, a stolen animal must pay 4 or 5 times its worth.
Yeah, we'll have to give them. If a thief stole a sheep or a cow and slaughtered it on Shabbos or as a sacrifice to Avodah Zarah, to a false deity, he is not liable to pay 4 or 5 times its worth, as explained above. This applies even when he performs the transgression unintentionally. If the cow had been lent to him and he slaughtered it on Shabbos with the intent to steal it, he is not liable even for the double payment. For the violation of the prohibition against the laws of the Shabbos and the prohibition against theft came about simultaneously. For if there is no obligation of theft, there is no obligation for slaughter or for sale. When a person, hey Benny, unless you want me to take it, hey dum diddly dum,
Because the new job I'm supposed to be interviewed at. This one coming out. When a person steals a sheep or a cow and sells it on Shabbos or sells it to a pagan Vaidazara, he is obligated to pay 4 or 5 times its amount, for the sale itself does not cause one to incur the death penalty. If a forbidden labor was performed on Shabbos at the time of the sale, the thief is not obligated to pay 4 or 5 times its amount. What is implied? For example, he agreed that the sale would not take effect until the animal comes to rest in the courtyard of the purchaser. Thus, when he took the animal from one domain to another domain, the prohibition against labor on Shabbos and the sale takes effect at the same time. I did it.
I know.
Should I continue?
Apparently, it was performed Shabbos at the same time of the sale. He's not allowed to be 4 or 5 days. No. I feel like we're just repeating. Okay. Vav. Continue.
I did it, love. No, I
You
didn't. When a thief appointed a shliach to shech the stolen animal for him, and the shliach shechted it for him on Shabbos, the thief must pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth, for the thief did not perform a transgression punishable by death, as we have explained. A person who has an agent slaughter for him is chayav for the additional payment.
When 2 witnesses, halacha zayin, koshmin chabibin, 2 witnesses testify that a person stole a cow or a sheep, and then they themselves, or 2 other witnesses testify that he shechted or sold the animal, the thief is liable to pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. If 2 witnesses testify that a person stole a cow or a sheep, and 1 witness testified that he slaughtered or sold the stolen animal, or the thief admitted that he slaughtered or sold the stolen animal on his own initiative, the thief must pay double. He doesn't need to pay 4 or 5 times. He is not, however, liable to pay 4 or 5 times. The rationale is that a person who admits his liability for a fine is not liable for that penalty, as we have explained. Following rules ches apply when a person admits liability for a fine, and then afterwards witnesses come and testify to his liability. If he made his admission before a court while they were in session, he is not liable. If he made the admission when the court was not in session or before 2 judges, and then afterwards witnesses came and testified to his liability, he is going to be liable to pay the fine because of their testimony. What is implied?
What is implied? A thief admitted that he stole to a court while it was in session, and afterwards witnesses came and testified that he stole. He is not chayav for double payment because he had obligated himself for the principal before the witnesses came. If, however, he denied stealing in the presence of a court, in this way freeing himself of liability, and then witnesses came and testified that he stole a sheep or a cow, at which point he admitted to in the presence of the court that he slaughtered or sold a stolen animal. And then witnesses came and testified that he slaughtered or sold the animal. He is liable to pay 4 or 5 times the animal's worth. The rationale is that he denied the obligation entirely before the witnesses came.
Interesting. Sometimes when the Rambam says Ketzad and explains to you something that he said before, I already understood what he said before, but this one not. Yod, the following rules apply when a thief steals what?
I only did one.
Oh, sorry.
Following rules apply when a thief steals an ox belonging to 2 partners, and one slaughters it or sells it and makes an admission to one in the presence of the court, but denies his liability to the other. Witnesses come in afterwards and testify that he stole or sold. He must pay the partner whose claim he denied 5 times half the value of the ox. The same situation takes place with regard to the theft of a sheep. He must pay 4 times half the value of the sheep.
Interesting. This law, not this law, the law requires a thief to pay the principal and to make the payment of double or 4 or 5 times the value of the theft from his movable property. If he does not own movable property, the court assesses his possessions and expropriates the entire debt from the finest of his landed properties, as is the practice with regard to other damages regarding which it says in Exodus 22:4, he shall pay from the best of his field. Meitav Sadeo. If he owns neither landed property nor movable property, which is often the case, right? Because the reason he stole is because he was in a really bad position. The court sells him as a servant and gives the money from his sale to the person from whom he stole. As it says, if he has no resources, he shall be sold for his theft. And then, of course, that lasts a maximum of 6 years, with rare exception.
A man, but not a woman, may be sold because of a theft. This law is part of the oral tradition. A thief is sold only because of the principal, but not for the payment of twice or 4 or 5 times
The amount of the theft.
the amount of the theft. If he can repay the principal, the additional amount remains a debt incumbent on him until he acquires the resources. When a person steals from a Gentile, or steals consecrated property, he is not sold for the principal. Instead, he remains a debt. It remains a debt incumbent on him until he acquires the resources.
When the principal of a theft was worth 100 zuz, and the thief could be sold for only 50 zuz, so this guy's really in bad shape, he shall be sold, and the remainder of the principal and the double payment is considered a debt incumbent on him until he attains his freedom in the 7th year, acquires the resources, and pays. If the thief was worth 101 zuz, he shall not be sold. If the thief... because the principal is worth 100. So if he's worth more than the principal, he shouldn't be sold. This is derived from the above, which says, he shall be sold for his theft. Implies that his entire worth must be included in the money received for his theft. Wow, so how did they ever actually get this done? What are the chances? Whatever, that's super interesting. And that could be a loophole for a guy who wants to go steal but not get sold as a slave. He just makes sure to steal something of lesser value than what he's worth.
15.
The following rules apply. If a person stole and was sold for his theft and then stole again, this guy didn't learn his lesson. If he stole from another person, he shall be sold as a servant a second time. Even if he stole from 100 people, he should be sold 100 times. If, however, he stole from the first person a second time, he shouldn't be sold a second time. Instead, the entire amount remains a debt incumbent on him. Tes Zayin and Yud Zayin. And then we're going to do the quiz because it's going to be fun.
For you, maybe.
We're going to do it. We'll see.
If a thief stole from 3 different people, they are all considered to be partners for his servitude. If the value of his work is equivalent to or less than the principal he owes to the 3, he is sold and divide the proceeds of the sale. The double payment remains a debt incumbent on him until he acquires the resources. If his value exceeds the principal, he should not be sold. Instead, the entire amount remains a debt incumbent on him until he attains the resources. When partners commit a theft together, their liability is divided among them. Each of them can be sold for his portion of the principal if the value of one of them is more than his share of the principal for which he is chayiv. He is not sold.
Okay, now we're going to do the quiz. Let's flip the camera. Here, Ben, you want to come look? But let me take off the blue light filter. Yeah, you ready? When 2 acceptable witnesses testify that a person stole something, the thief is required. Two acceptable witnesses testify that a person stole something. Is he required to pay back twice the amount of stolen property that he stole? The thief is required to return what he stole and add a 5th. The thief is required to return what he stole and swear that he never stole in the past. We know the answer to this. This is easy.
What's the question?
When two acceptable witnesses testify that a person stole something.
Yeah.
It's this one.
Look at you.
That was so easy.
Look it up.
Okay. If a woman is married and thus has no financial resources with which to pay, her husband pays on her behalf, and if they divorce, she is required to pay her husband back. The double payment remains a debt that she is obligated to pay when she gets divorced or becomes a widow. That's correct. True or false? When a thief steals a sheep or an ox, he must pay back 4 or 5 times its worth. You think it's true? I think it's false. It's false because only if he shechts it or sells it, then he pays 4 or 5 times.
Wow, put me in public like that.
If a thief stole a gaunt animal, that means skinny, and he fattened it, how much is he required to pay back? The amount it's currently worth, what it was worth when he stole it. I think I know the answer, but you choose.
I'm choosing. This is
Why not?
Because I don't know it.
I believe it's this one.
That's what I thought too.
There we go. We got it right. 0 questions left for that. Parak. For which of the following is one not required to pay back double of what he stole? Consecrated property, promissory notes, property belonging to a Gentile, all the above. All the above is correct. True or false? When a person steals an animal and slaughters it improperly, he's only required to pay back double the amount that he stole. Steals an animal, slaughters it improperly? I think that's true. Yes. Is giving away a stolen animal as a present considered like selling it? Ooh, I actually don't remember. I'm going to go with no. Oh, I got it wrong. Okay. You know what they should have? If you hit look it up, it highlights for you the words of the halacha. Instead, it just brings you to the halacha. And sometimes the halacha has a few details in it. If one was a partner in a stolen animal that he sold, is he required to pay 4 or 5 times its worth? Well, not exactly, because he only has to pay half of 4 or 5 times, but I don't know, are they trying to trick us? Let's put no. Yeah. And last set of 4. No more than 4, right? If a person unintentionally, I think that should be a thing. If you do shleisha prakim, then you could do 3 sets of 4. It's a joke. If a person unintentionally performs a transgression that is punishable by lashing and a financial penalty, what punishment is given to him?
One of each. One or the other. Can be both.
Okay, but those aren't the options here. Only lashes, only the financial penalty, neither lashes nor financial penalty. I think only lashes. No, only financial penalty.
I was going to tell you
that. That makes sense, actually. If a thief stole a sheep and slaughtered it on Shabbos, what is the halacha? He is required to pay 4 times its worth. He is not required. It depends if he slaughtered it knowing it was Shabbos or not. That is the true... What?
He's required to pay 4 or 5 times.
Just because he did it on Shabbos, so he's not required?
Not required.
Oh, because... Yeah, I got confused because I was thinking that the last one is about whether or not they came together. The liability for the theft and the liability for shechting on Shabbos.
You lost on confused?
What?
Never mind.
Rabbi Platil says confusion is a sign of intelligence. Does the law, in the case of the previous question, again, when a person shechted on Shabbos, change when the thief instructed someone else to slaughter the animal for him? Yes. Because in this case, the thief is not required to pay 4 or 5. What? Okay, man. I thought that I did the last parak the best. And I'm getting all these wrong. Yes, in this case, the thief is required to pay 4 times. Okay, I feel like that. I don't know what I did wrong there. Let's see. I actually really don't know that one. A thief appointed an agent to slaughter a stolen animal for him. And the agent slaughtered it for him on Shabbos. Thief must pay. Okay, gotcha. Now how do I go back to the questions? No. Yeah, here we are. Okay, final one. If 2 witnesses testify that a person stole a cow, and 1 witness testifies that he sold it, what is the law? Only pays double. Yeah.
We done?
I got one. Yeah, can I get your face in it or no?
Okay, fine.
Hey, this is Benny.
Finally back in New York.
That's true. We've missed Benny a lot.
And you'll be
Okay,
seeing
Shkaya.
me more often.
Oh, Baruch
Because
Hashem.
I
Okay, for how do I end this? Shkayach, everybody.
made the stupid choice of moving.